Boo-boo-boo-boo-boo. Yeah! What's up, goobers? Welcome to the very first Mad Customs video.
Boy.
Today we're going to be making a commission from a client. He wants me to make Gray Fox from Metal Gear Solid. I've never played the game, but he looks like a pretty cool character. So yeah, really excited. Gonna go ahead and get started by taking the figure apart. To disassemble a figure, all you gotta do is grab a bowl, put some water in it, put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. After letting the pieces sit, I popped them apart, mostly. Now we have to deal with these pinless joints, so I'm gonna show you how to remove them. You're gonna need a knife. So here he is, mostly taken apart. We still need to deal with the torso, but I'll get to that in a bit. I thought I'd tell you where I got these pieces from. The main body and the legs are from the Marvel Legends Blur from the 2-pack. The feet are just your like generic Marvel Legends dress shoes, and then the arms are from the G.I. Joe Classified. Is it Tamax and Zamo?
Bruh.
I don't know. They're like twins. I'm not a G.I. Joe nerd, so I don't know how to pronounce them. But yeah, those are their arms, shoulders, hands, and then the sword is from Marvel Legends Hand Ninja. The head I bought from eBay. It'll be here in a few days. For this particular custom, I'm only going to need to crack open the top part of the torso. And how you do that is you get your screwdriver, you get a hammer, and then looking along the seam, you're going to want to, articulate it backwards, and then you can see like there's a little bit of a gap right here, like in the torso, and that's where you're going to want to like wedge your screwdriver into. You maybe want to like take your knife and kind of just score it just so it's a little bit more accessible. But yeah, you do that, then I'll just show you how to kind of just hammer it, crack it open. After a little bit of frustration, I got it wedged in there. Now all you're gonna need to do is kind of just crack it open a little bit. Sometimes it'll just be you need to do one side. I might have to do the other on this one. Yeah. I don't want to risk it just like snapping this off, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side real quick. I actually had to do a little bit of work up here at the neck as well. Not too much, just to crack it up here, and then boom. There you go. You can get the butterfly joints out, neck joint. So now we have it all disassembled, and we're gonna move on to sanding and prepping the joints for paint. Basically, you're gonna want to sand anywhere there's gonna be potential friction, basically all the joints, and then anywhere you're gonna want to sculpt stuff. Okay, so for sanding, you'll see me using this kind of just generic fine drill bit for the ABS and PVC plastics. And then briefly at the end, you'll see me switch to more of like an almost drill bit. It has a lot more teeth on it. I use that for the nylon plastic, which is the plastic used for the pinless joints. So I have sanded all of the joints. As you can see, took off quite a bit of plastic. On some of these, like right here, I maybe took off a little bit too much, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, like for example here, like the torso, let me just put it together real quick. Like you can see there's, let me get it all the way together. There's quite a bit of clearance in there, so there's room for me to sculpt the details I need to. Same here on the back, and then the butterfly joints as well. I also sanded the sword a little bit to make it more accurate. So I popped the shoulder in and then put the bicep on just for good measure. And as you can see, you can rotate the shoulder around with plenty of clearance for paint. And then as you move it up, there's also plenty of room. Okay, so now I'm gonna take these pens and just kind of outline all the line work that's on the figure and the kind of where the sculpted detail is going to need to go. I have all the line work and sculpt kind of sketched out, laid out on each of the pieces. Like for example here, these pieces right here, these abs, and then like this little place on the butt and then the back, like that's all going to be sculpted. But like up here on the neck, there's going to be some areas that are just going to be engraved. Most of the other pieces on the body are going to be engraved. The shoulders, biceps, there's going to be some armor that needs to be sculpted on the forearms, thighs. But yeah, that's basically it. To do the engraving, which is what I'm going to do first, I'm going to engrave it and then like sand it, and then I'm going to do all the sculpt. To do that, I'm going to be using this wood burning tool. I'm going to be using this kind of like fine tip, and then I may switch between that and then this kind of like, I don't know, other flat pointed tip.
Here I'm taking out the hip piece because I realized it would be best to dye it black.
Got that hip piece out. So this is the dye that you need to use if you want to dye your joints on your action figures. Make sure it is synthetic.
Okay, so you just basically want to do a 1:3 ratio with the water. I sometimes do a little bit more depending on how much I'm dyeing, but right here I'm just doing one piece, so it's not that much. Make sure it's heated well, and then you can start stirring so that the water and then the dye blend together. Drop that piece in, mix it, kind of just check on and off on it. Here it is after about 15 minutes. You can see it started to take up the dye, but I keep stirring it. And then after about half an hour, I'd say it's ready to go. I made sure to rinse that dye out of the spoon so it didn't get everywhere. But yeah, there it is. As you can see, it's black now. Cleaned it off, and there you go.
So now I have all the line work mostly done. It's obviously going to need to be cleaned up, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I can't do the line work up here on the neck yet. I think I'm going to have to sculpt the detail on the abs, and then once that's all done, I'm going to have to put this torso together, glue it, and then I can do the details up here, because I'm going to have to like put these pieces together, sand it so it's smooth, and then I can do the line work on top of that, because if I do it before I put it together, it just won't be the best finish, if that makes sense. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and start sculpting, and I'll finish up the line work later. And to do the sculpting, I'm gonna be using this epoxy sculpt. So here, the bottom torso pieces with all the sculpted detail I need in order to put together the upper torso. So I'm gonna sand it after it's done curing and make it smooth. I actually had a little bit left over sculpt, so I went ahead and did the hands as well. I was about to put the torso together, but then I realized I probably need to sculpt the detail on the back here along the spine, and then for the chest right here before I do that, because I'm obviously going to need to be able to put the butterfly joints back in before I put together the torso. And the sculpted detail on the front and the back obviously needs to be sanded and prepped internally, so it doesn't cause any paint rub on the butterfly joints. Finished all the sculpting. Here's the front of the torso right there, and here's the back. And then I actually had some leftover clay here and there, so I went ahead and did the sculpt work on the thighs, and then I also did it on the forearms. Here the head is all fitted with the O-rings glued in. A tip I forgot to mention is to take a slightly larger O-ring and kind of use those as the base. So what I did was I took 3 of these, glued them in, stacked them on top of each other, and then this is the O-ring that pops on the ball peg. So I took 2 of these and glued them in here at the top. There is some glue residue, as you can see in there. So what I'm gonna do, I usually do this for every head that I do, is I'll take a Dremel and then kind of just like just slightly sand away some of the glue residue here in the middle so that it pops on, and it isn't super tight. Sanded out that hole in there a little bit, and now you can just pop it on, and there you go. Still retains all the range of motion, and yeah, that's how you fit heads to neck joints. These pieces that I already engraved details onto, I'm going to be using this sanding stick right here, and then also this Dremel bit to kind of, for example, just sand in there, kind of just get all the gunk out. I'm going to do that all around, and then once I do that, I'm going to take some sandpaper and then hand sand just all the flakes and just residue away. After quite a bit of sanding, here is what I have. Here's the torso. As you can see, it's all smooth, and here's the back as well. Sanded out the inside right here as well. Here's the abs, and then the spine. Here's one of the forearms. Let's see. Oh yeah. Here's one of the thighs. And sanded the crap out of these knees right here. So as you can see, they have their proper angles and all that stuff. Same thing can be said for the elbows. So yeah, still have to sculpt the detail on the butt and then the hips and then the crotch piece. I think that's the last of the sculpting I need to do, but I'm probably gonna do that after I get the torso together. We got the wire now, so I'm gonna do the piping along the spine on the back of the figure now. So got myself a little snippet right here, and then I'm gonna take super glue and apply a little bit along the spine, and just like that, lay it down, and then I have these fine tip cotton swabs, Q-tips, whatever, and I'm gonna just kind of wipe away the excess glue. And there you have it. Let me put the back on the front of the torso together. And so just get your super glue, and what we're gonna want to do is put glue in every single peg hole right here, and then just kind of lightly along the edges of the torso. Make sure you don't get it in any joints, because you don't want stuck joints, but just enough to obviously make sure that the torso won't come apart. So I think that's a fair amount. Here's the back piece, and here we go. Alrighty, and then just to make sure, I'm gonna take some glue and kind of just put it along the seams. fill in any gaps. I can smooth it out later. Alrighty. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Probably gonna just add a little bit of the liquid glue in there just to make sure I got all the cracks filled up. Alrighty, yeah. Now we're gonna just instant set it real quick. And we'll let that dry.
Boom! Surprise! Congratulations, you made it halfway through the video. So you're probably having a good time, right? If you are, please subscribe.
Here's the torso, all glued and dried. As you can see, it functions perfectly, no issues. And there's plenty of room for clearance for the joints to move. I did want to quickly mention that I threw a tiny O-ring at the bottom of the head sculpt and glued it in just so that it would sit a little bit better on the neck. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. But yeah, with all the sculpting done and the torso put together, all I have left to do is get the wood burning tool and finish the engraving up here on the neck and traps. Finished up sanding and smoothing out all the details on the torso, and I just wanted to show you really quick how I use acetone for the final touches. You're just gonna need some Q-tips and just dip Q-tip in the acetone and then just lightly just rub all of the plastic parts and kind of just make a circular motion as well so it doesn't like dissolve the plastic. And as you can see, it really just like brought out that detail, cleaned up all the dust.
Here I'm reinserting the pinless joints, really simple. Heat the plastic, pop them in, glue it shut.
I have finished all of the sanding, all of the just fine tuning and cleaning up, and the figure's now ready for paint. I popped the legs on the hip sockets and then I plugged in the shins as well. But as you can see, like everything is all nice and clean. Before I start painting, need to get all the pieces on these clips right here, and then also mask off any joints that are gonna be like plugged into other pieces, like this hip socket right here. Gonna need to fill that up. Some of the joints, honestly, like depending on what they are, don't really need to be masked off, especially if you're wanting a tighter fit. Like I don't even know if I'm gonna like tape off these ball pegs right here, because the hips I think would fit better if there was a little bit of paint in there to tighten it up. But that you kind of just have to use your discretion depending on the joint. But yeah, like as you can see, got the feet right here, got the head right here. What I use to mask off the joints is painter's tape and then silly putty. Actually, silly putty is your best friend, really. These are the primers I'm going to be using. Not sure if I'm probably not going to be using the gray, but this white and black I'll definitely be using depending on what colors I need to paint. Here are all the pieces rigged up. I did end up using some painter's tape, but not much. I honestly didn't do much masking for this figure. Just a quick reminder to make sure that you are thorough with your paint. I already did one coat on all the pieces of the primer, and I'm going to make a second coat, but I bent all of the joints on the knee, elbow, torso, and the hands and shoulders to make sure I just get all the joints painted up, and so that there's no bare plastic when you articulate the figure. I have all the pieces primed, and so now what I'm gonna do is airbrush the copper on the pieces that need it. This is the Model Air copper, and then once I'm done with the copper, then I'll mask it off and go in with the blue. Hey, I finished with all the copper paint. Look at that. Yeah! Beautiful. I also just went ahead and did the silver for the sword. I used this Model Air gunmetal. By the way, I use Vallejo Model Air Game Air for basically all my paints. So in the meantime, while I let this dry, before I do the blue, I'm gonna paint all the details on the head. A little bit of an update. I made a mistake. These knee pads were missing detail. This detail right here on the knee. So I went ahead, took the Dremel and made those notches. It is time to do a little bit of masking, and then we will be able to start painting the blue. I'm going to be using this Vallejo Game Air Ultramarine. But before I can do all that painting, I'm going to be using a crap ton of Silly Putty to mask off all of the copper and then white pieces. Alrighty, got everything taped up, as you can see. Lots of Silly Putty. That was a pain in the butt to do. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now for one of the most satisfying privileges of the customizing process. Removing the tape. Gotta be very gentle because this isn't fully dried yet, but I mean, it's just too tempting to not do as soon as possible. So, yeah. Oh. Oopsies. Alright, let's get this. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Why aren't you cooperating right now? Why aren't you cooperating? Alright. What I like to do is like, oh my gosh. Hold on. What I like to do is like use another piece of Silly Putty to just kind of pull off the other Silly Putty. And there's gonna be like stragglers in it. It's not gonna be perfect. But you can just clean that up later. Let's do a leg, and then I'll call it a day. Let's take off this real quick. Oh, look at that. And then heck yeah. And then take that blue tape off real quick. Yoink. Oh my gosh, look at that. Love that. Oh, and then there's a little piece down here as well. Oh yeah. All the paint has had plenty of time to dry. And it's now time to start panel lining everything. This is the head. I just went ahead and I mean, it's basically finished. As far as panel lining goes, there's still a few other details I need to do. We finished all of the panel lining, as well as this little blue section on the gauntlets right here. And I finished doing the lights on the head as well. I also painted the fingers and thumb copper, as well as this little bit up here. I painted the front part of this hinge copper to be accurate. And yeah, that's really about it. The only thing I have left to do is touch up some spots with blue. I already touched up all the copper spots. And then after that, I just have to go in and do the little like lettering that's on different armor bits. We are nearing the finish line. I have done all of the detailing needed, and all I have left to do is I need to let all of this paint have a good, nice period of drying. So I'm gonna just let it dry overnight, and then I need to give it a gloss finish, sealant, and once I'm done with that, it's all done.
So for my gloss, I actually use this acrylic floor shine. It's really affordable and cheap. No thinning is required for your airbrush, and it works like a charm.
I'm about to put the second coat of gloss on the figure. So I've bent all the joints already. As you can see, there's still a matte finish on the abs, but up here on the torso, get a subtle gloss finish. Looks really nice. This head came out really well, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna hit it up with this second coat of gloss finish, let it dry overnight, and then sometime tomorrow I'll do the assembly. Everything's finally dry, and now I can get everything laid out and start assembling the figure. Dun 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 dun. Yeah, there he is, guys. And I must say, he turned out pretty dang awesome, if I do say so myself. I will say the shoulders were a little bit loose when I popped them in, so I popped them back out, coated them in some liquid super glue, and then used some instant set and popped them back in. Just basically enlarged the shoulder peg, and now they function really well. Yay! They have loose arms, so I thought I'd go ahead and fix that. I will say though, it kind of came out at a cost. As you can see, there's some glue residue on this left shoulder that if you like look in there, you can see it kind of messed up some of the paint. It's not like bad, but it's definitely something that I wish would have not have happened, and it's something that me as the artist is probably going to be the only person that notices. My customer probably isn't even going to really lose too much sleep about that or even notice it, unless he sees this video. But yeah, really dig how this guy came out, and I just want to run through the articulation to show you guys that this guy is pretty dang posable. And there's also no paint rub, so the head can look down all the way, and then it goes up that far. You get side to side, obviously, and then a little bit of head pivoting. The shoulders can go a little bit past T-pose, and then they can go back in full rotation. As you can see, they're not loose anymore. The butterfly joint goes forward that much and then back more so. Get a bicep swivel, and then the double jointed pinless elbow. As you can see, no paint rub. You get a swivel and an up and down hinge at the wrist for his sword. And then the ab crunch goes forward that much, and then back that much. Get a waist cut, and then the hips go forward pretty high. They go back a touch. He can basically do the splits, and then they can actually cross, which is pretty cool. You don't see that often. Get an upper thigh cut. Pinless dumbbell jointed knee. You get a calf rotation. You go all the way back a little bit forward, and then you get a solid ankle pivot. As you can see, no paint and rub on the joints. And yeah, that's really it.
And that's the end of my very first YouTube video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, share, and please subscribe. It'd really help grow the channel. Let me know how I can improve my videos. This is, again, my first one, so I'm learning. Any constructive criticism will be very much appreciated. But yeah, please follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, keep collecting, keep customizing. I'll see you guys later. Pura Vida.